Welcome back. Well, dozens of American tourists are told to shelter in place in Mexico after violence broke out following a military operation to take down the country's most wanted drug leader, El Mencho. The ongoing violence killing over 25 Mexican National Guard troops and more than 24 criminal suspects. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says government agencies are working to get the violence under control. Here's Mexico's president yesterday. Watch.
The most important thing at this moment is to guarantee peace and the safety of all the population of all of Mexico. And that is being done. Today, there's more tranquility, there's more government, armed forces, security cabinet, and there's a lot of coordination. It is important that you know that Command Center is maintained today a national coordination where the three secretaries, their teams, the Secretary of the Interior, to coordinate with all state governments.
Joining me now is the Sheriff of Terrell County, Texas, Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland. Sheriff, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So do you expect this violence in Mexico, where now there's this race to take over the Jalisco cartel and these drug cartel wars? Do you see any of that violence spreading across the border into America?
Hey, good morning, Maria. Great to be on with you. And no, I don't see it spreading across the border. And that's why we have U.S. Border Patrol, of course, Customs and Border Protection at our ports of entries. I see them, of course, preparing for anything that could escalate into something, a little larger. And we have, of course, during past uproars of violence or upticks, we'll see a stray bullet or something come across the border, but we won't have any spillover into U.S. soil.
And what are you seeing on the ground there, Sheriff? I mean, look, this ambush on this drug boss has created massive worry about Mexico, and the State Department is telling anybody, American citizens who are in Mexico, to shelter in place. What should we expect from those people? When can they be on the move again and get out?
No, Maria, I think that's the biggest concern right now are those American tourists that are in Mexico or business folks that are in various places in Mexico, just their safety. Of course, remain in shelter in place is a great step until some of that violence starts to kind of curb and lower, and then we can start getting some of those folks out of there. They can resume their travel plans. But I would think, again, that is our most critical piece, are American citizens that are in Mexico waiting to get out.
Well, thankfully, the border is secure, thanks to President Trump. You haven't seen any activity of any drug cartels trying to cross the border, right?
No, ma'am. We're still kind of having that normal flow of the reason why we have U.S. Border Patrol, people that are still trying to cross the border, a lot lower than what we've discussed over the past 4 years, Maria.
Sure.
But even right now, as soon as we're done with this interview, I'm going to go help Border Patrol with the group they just detected on our portion of the U.S.-Mexico border. But we still have record low numbers and allowing us to get out and do some other things that we need to be taking care of here along the border.
And that group is from where? And you're talking about which area of the border? El Paso? What's this group you just referred to?
Yes, ma'am. So we're Terrell County, Sanderson, Texas is located in between San Antonio and El Paso along the U.S.-Mexico border. And and the border is about 20 miles from the location that I'm standing at now. So this group crossed and hit a device or a sensor of U.S. Border Patrol that detected the bodies. And as I was starting up my vehicle this morning to come talk with you a little bit, I could hear the activity going. I've got a deputy out there assisting. They're likely from Mexico, and the normal traffic we see out here, people just trying to cross the border to come to the United States and get in somewhere where they have family, relatives, and get a job.
Yeah, well, I've been to the region many times. I know exactly the area that you're talking about. Maybe they're trying to escape the violence that's underway throughout Mexico, right? From this drug cartel situation.
And Maria, that's a great point, because historically, yes, when we see this violence go on, we will see people come to the border to try to flee some of that violence. What's different now, though, as opposed to even the previous 4 years, is now we have an administration that's not going to just simply say, our borders are open, come on in.
That's right.
Again, cartel violence, it's something that's bad, but it's not necessarily a reason to completely leave your country.
And do you know how big that group is that tried to get through this morning?
Yes, ma'am. It's about 8 people that they detected on their sensor system here. So
I see.
And that's 8 to 10 is about the normal group size that we see of people trying to illegally cross the border here in Terrell County.
I mean, if they're trying to cross the border, they had to give the drug cartels money to get where they are, right? I mean, we know how it works. Nobody's going to get close to America without paying off the drug cartels. Isn't that right?
Right. So the drug cartels, as we know, also assist in smuggling bodies across the border. They own those plazas, the areas of the border that are under control by various cartels throughout the entire 2,000-mile stretch of border. So you don't cross the border without paying some sort of what we call along the border a mordida, a bribe to cross. Okay. And I've got to make a point, since we're talking about this group. 2 days ago, Border Patrol caught a group of 10 out in this portion of the border. They had crossed. They didn't hit any Border Patrol sensors or devices, any other cameras, but what actually spotted them was a Predator B drone. That is an aircraft that CBP, Customs and Border Protection, has that is tremendous out here in this area where you have the long stretches of desolate border. So it's all that combination of technology and infrastructure that really makes the border more safe and secure.
And of course, thankfully to President Trump, who has secured the border. But we will look for a follow-up on that breaking news you brought us of this latest group. We'll follow up later on that. But let me get your take on the president yesterday honoring angel families at the White House, signing a proclamation declaring a national day to honor those families who's lost loved ones at the hands of these cartel potential members. Watch this.
Throughout this hall, I am joined by heartbroken Americans who have lost parents, siblings, children, grandchildren, and treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration led in by the past administration. Drug dealers, murderers, 11,888 murderers were allowed into our country. These are the angel families that we love, that for decades our government betrayed. But under the Trump administration, their suffering is forgotten no longer. February 22nd is going to be National Angel Family Day.
Sheriff, it was an emotional ceremony with people like the mothers of those lost children, the mother of Laken Riley, a beautiful nurse from Georgia, speaking on behalf of her family. Your reaction?
You know, I think it's a great thing, Maria. Again, many of these angel families are these families that have lost loved ones to fentanyl poisonings. I've gone out and spoke at various events across the country to help support these families. I've even brought fentanyl families down to the border so they can understand more about the U.S.-Mexico border and how it impacts the rest of the United States. This is great for those families. It means a lot to them. Again, a lot of senseless deaths that could have been prevented had we had a safe and secure border. Obviously, the last 4 years, that was something totally different. Now, I mean, we are completely changed of what we were before. But I have to admit, or I must say that, again, these families have lost loved ones. And what President Trump is doing at securing the border, as well as working with Mexico, we're at war with Mexico. And yes, it may not be the war that you and I recognize of what we fight overseas, but definitely with the amount of fentanyl that gets smuggled across the border, as well as those criminal aliens, makes a huge impact here in the United States.
No, I understand. We're at war with Mexico, we're at war with the Mexican drug cartels who are running the country.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you know, we should point out that Mencho, who the Mexican government just took down and killed, that drug lord, with the help of the United States and its information flow, he was the leading trafficker of cocaine and fentanyl into America. Sheriff, thank you so much for your work. We so appreciate your work at the source. Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland, thank you, sir. We'll be right back. Stay with us.